feel like that you might be a little blocked up with your spiritual or channeling abilities. Maybe it's a fear of persecution in this incarnation or maybe other incarnations. So we're going to talk about a multidimensional chakra scan that I just did for a client in case it helps you on your journey as well. So my client was having a little trouble hearing her higher self and her inner children. Just the lines of communication didn't seem open enough. And she's like real deep into spiritual awakening journey. Okay, she's doing a lot of cool shamanic things, but still having a little trouble like filter lenses. And so she asked if I could see if there's any timelines that are experiencing things that she can help them heal with to open them. I go into her chakra system and I see an owl, and owls are representative of keen perception and going after what you want in life. I was talking to the owl, it brought me to this almost, it wasn't necessarily a church, but you know how it has the stained glass windows, really beautiful, different colors. I started to look through the panes and basically it was the keeper of her records asking what I wanted to find in there. And so I stated that I was there for her and she wanted, I'm going to say before, I should have said this beforehand, okay, this might be a little bit triggering because this is about persecution and oppression in both of these different timelines that I'm going to talk about. So if you're in a sensitive place, maybe save this for later or skip and watch some different videos, but I just want to give that heads up. So I'm in the timeline and there's all these bluebirds that are flying around and I'm in a forest and all of a sudden this little girl sees me and she runs up to me and grabs my hand and asks me to follow her. And so then we start running through the forest and then we're squatting down behind this tree. I look around the tree and I can see two adults. There's a woman and a man and they're having a conversation. And I asked the little girl, I said, are these your parents? And she said, yes. And the little girl was my client in a different timeline. So those were her parents. Okay. So conversating and the man slaps her in the face. And then she starts crying and like holding her hand and then he walks off. And so then I ask her if she wants me to go talk to her mom because that's why she brought me there. She's trying to protect her mom. And so she said yes, and then I go walk up to her, and I said, hey, can we go somewhere where we can all chat? And it was really funny because she wasn't concerned about who I was. She was like, okay, because usually timelines I have to like explain who I am and what I'm doing there. And she was like, yeah. I think she wanted some company and to like talk. And so we went back to her home, which was almost kind of like a cabin, and she made us some tea to drink. I was asking her, hey, what's going on between this relationship dynamic? And apparently they were kind of like farmers and they lived really far out from other people, so they were kind of isolated. And she said that her husband had a lot of things that he needed to heal through and wasn't looking at, and he didn't really have a whole lot of other people to interact with. And so whenever he got angry or frustrated, it kind of directed towards her because he didn't have enough like outlets, and he, obviously wasn't doing the healing that he needed to be doing, but didn't have a lot of outlets. And I said, okay, well, why are we continuing to stay in the relationship? And she said, I don't think that I would be able to survive without him because I have my daughter. And I said, okay. And she said, I really do love him and he's a very loving husband, but the dynamics were what they were, and it wasn't my place to try and talk her out of being in the relationship. I just wanted to come in and help in whatever way that I could. But I did say, I said, when this little girl gets bigger, okay, what do you think is going to happen when she becomes a teenager? I said, I want you to keep that in mind, okay? Because sometimes we need to be having a plan, okay? So I said, but I can help you. And I said, I'm going to place these giant obsidian towers in the four corners of your home. And basically what they're going to do is repel negativity or frustration or anger that are directed towards you or directed towards your daughter. And she said, I don't know if I want those there because he's going to be able to see them. And I said, oh, nobody can see them. I said, they are completely invisible to everybody. And they weren't just obsidian towers. I have never built something like this before, but obsidian was like the main component, but it just almost, he acted like a shield for them. And so that was for the home. And then I said, actually, I want to place a bracelet on your arm, you and your daughters, and nobody will be able to see it. And it's going to create an auric shield around you. I also gave her daughter a star necklace, which my client in a different skin before this one, I received a similar necklace from a Native American tribe. That was her ancestral tribe. But I gave this little girl one as well. And I said, this is to represent this day, and that you are so incredibly powerful, and that you had faith and trust that there was some type of energy out there that could help you. You just needed to ask for support, and then you actually brought me here. you're the one that called me and I came in. So I remember how powerful you are and how much there is of the unknown that you can't see with your physical eyes. Then I go to a different section of her field and I saw a giraffe in the Savannah Plains, and giraffes are representative of channeling divine wisdom from cosmic source and then sharing it with the people, if you will. Like, they are able to see dangers before the other animals. So like if a giraffe is running, or like, you know how like birds, if they're the first to fly, then all the other animals move as well. Really representative of seeing in the future collective and helping people shift, and they're also seen as leaders. And then the shadow side is them having their head too much in the clouds and then having blocked channels, and so that's kind of what we were working through. And then all of a sudden there was these hyenas that were like biting at its feet, but the giraffe was like very nonchalant about it. It like did not care. It was like shoving the hyenas out of the way. So I was telling my client, it's kind of representative of you in life, like not letting other people's perceptions deter you from what you're doing. And all of a sudden this lady walked out onto the savannah and she looked like a ghost. She was like white and transparent, and she said that she wanted me to go look at this other timeline, and pointed, and then all of a sudden I was in the ocean and there was these giant jellyfish that were swimming everywhere. Basically there was this underwater community, almost like a kingdom, and there was a king, kind of like a king. He was more like a guardian, he said. Basically what had happened was he was the illegitimate son of the king, and he lived like with the people, like in the regular community, not in like the royal family. And he had some other sons, and then the other sons passed away, and so he had to leave the kingdom to somebody, and so he brought his illegitimate son in, and then he ended up passing away. Like the king's dad ended up passing away, and so there was a council of people, like advisors that helped run this state basically, and they did not want this son in charge. Like they were doing everything that they possibly could to usurp him out, and they were very corrupt, and the previous king was like super corrupt as well. Now my client, who was this current king, okay, in this place, super honorable and wanted to create reform and like redistribute wealth and just like this wonderful person, but was getting upturned at every moment by these like corrupt council members. I said, well, why are you allowing them to stay in these places? Like, why don't you just take them out and put whoever you want? And he was like, well, I feel like that would be very dishonorable to my father because they've always been here. And I said, okay. I said, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but if you let them stay, what's going to end up happening is their sons are going to take their places, and then it's just going to continue this disruption system. And he said, well, I'm also worried about my wife and children. Like, what ends up happening if, you know, I'm putting them in danger by taking these council members out? And I said, okay, well, who would you put in their place? And he said, oh, I have a whole group of friends from whom I grew up with who are extremely accountable, amazing people. He said, I would put them in here. I said, okay, that's a great first step, because having supportive people around you is a great form of protection. And I also said that I was going to place obsidian, the same obsidian towers in the four corners of the city. And he said, can you put these bracelets on me and my wife and kids? I said, absolutely. And so I brought them all in, and I said, these help deter any anger or frustration or actions against you and your family and the city as a whole. Saying to my client how her fears of persecution in this lifetime and being oppressed by different systems was a karmic lesson throughout different timelines, and that she was going to be the one in this one to clear it out, as evidence of me going in and helping these two timelines. But I'm just serving as a channeler. It's actually my client who is doing the work. I'd love to hear in the comments if this resonated with you, and if you would like your own multidimensional chakra scan so you can understand yourself at deeper levels. You can go to my profile and click, or check the comments or the description box below.